the U.S. denying claims by Tehran that Iran arrested 17 citizens accused of spying for Washington. This after Iran seized a British oil tanker in the Strait of Hormuz last week. The president speaking out yesterday at the White House.
They have tremendous problems economically. Their country's in turmoil. They're having demonstrations all over Iran. Their inflation rate's at 75%. They have a lot of problems. So whatever it is, it is. I'm just going to sit back and wait. Let's see what happens. Frankly, it's getting harder for me to want to make a deal with Iran because they behave very badly. They're saying bad things. And I'll tell you, it could go either way very easily, very easily. And I'm okay either way it goes.
Joining me now, retired four-star General, Fox News senior strategic analyst, General Jack Keane. General, which way does it go, you think?
Well, both countries want to avoid war, so that doesn't mean there could not be some kind of limited or measured conflict because we have a history of it. And I think right now, despite all the rhetoric, the ball's a little bit in the United Kingdom's court because the Iranians have got their British tanker at Bandar Abbas port. It's well secured there. I doubt if there's any military operation in consideration by the Brits to go take the tanker back. But what are they going to do? And literally this week, as you mentioned in the introduction, there'll be a new prime minister in England, as the Conservative Party will elect the new head of the party, who by definition will become the prime minister because Prime Minister May has stepped down. First order of business will be, what do we do about the Iranians? What do we do about our tanker? I hope the answer, Dagan, is that they move closer to the United States, join the maximum pressure campaign to put significant economic sanctions on Iran and come out of the nuclear deal. That would be a huge plus and maybe too much to ask for, but at least, hopefully, they'll support the United States position.
What kind of sanctions would we be talking about in terms of Great Britain or the United Kingdom?
Well, what I see happening there is most of the sanction on the oil exports, with the exception of a few countries, have really taken hold. It's 80+%. There may be some manufactured goods and some other things that the Brits are dealing with the Iranians on, and they can help us with those sanctions. You know that the Iranians have busted the limits of uranium restrictions imposed on as a part of the nuclear deal. And the reason for that is they want to get the United Kingdom, France, and Germany to provide them some economic assistance to minimize the impact of the U.S. sanctions. To date, they have refused to accommodate the Iranians on that. But it's the French and the Germans who truly want to do business with the Iranians. I think it's pretty shameful given the Iranians' behavior, but it's a business deal as far as they're concerned. If the Brits break away from the French and the Germans, it's likely that the French and the Germans will follow.
Would France and Germany be okay with a nuclear Iran? Again, that we're very far away, I would guess, because I think you need 90% enrichment for weapons grade uranium, but we're far away from weapons grade material. But are France and Germany okay with a nuclear Iran, not for power?
No, they're not okay with a nuclear Iran. Nor is Russia or China okay with a nuclear Iran. And obviously, those two countries are our adversaries, and they work closer with Iran than obviously we do. No one is in favor of a nuclear Iran. Why? Because then the Arabs will go nuclear, and we will be in a nuclear arms race in the Middle East, which is the most dangerous neighborhood in the world and could lead to possibly the first nuclear exchange. That's what makes this such a dangerous proposition, the Iranians' pursuit of nuclear weapons.
I want to turn to South Korea. And I wasn't trying to, General, I wasn't trying to be alarmist. But again, that's the ultimate question that all of these nations have to answer. Our sanctions are working with Iran. That you have runaway inflation and an economy that's cratering. And the more of these actions by Iran, the more desperate they look. That should be a signal to our allies that they should join with us to take on this regime.
No, there's no doubt about that. And Iran is lashing out because they're back on their heels for the first time in 39 years. It's really quite stunning to see some of their erratic behavior, because I believe it's also affecting their judgment. We have a ways to go before the Iranians will come in and negotiate with the United States principally, and maybe some other allies, because they've got more options in their playbook. And one of those options is clearly taking people's lives in the Middle East and possibly U.S. troops. That will obviously get a military response from us. Hopefully the Iranians do not go there, but it is in their playbook, and I do think they'll exhaust all of their options before they come to the negotiating table.
I want to move on and shift gears to South Korea. And South Korean the military there saying its jets fired warning shots at a Russian plane that entered its airspace. Russia denying the claim. Your reaction to that? Because again, hot spots around the globe, and all of these nations are connected to one another, particularly with, say, Russia, China, and Iran.
Yeah, most of these incursions do not have military significance, but this one actually does, because the Chinese and the Russians are conducting military exercises in the vicinity of South Korea. And they had an early warning radar aircraft up, which is a command and control aircraft, which we have in our arsenal as well, and it controls all the fighters and the bombers and the refuelers. And that penetrated South Koreans' airspace, as did Chinese fighters and Russian fighters, and that has never happened before. I think they were one of the reasons for that penetration of military significance is to test the South Koreans' response, not just the physical response, but they're watching their communication system, their command and control. How quickly do they respond? What do they respond with? Who was alerted, etc. So this does have military significance. It's unusual for the Russians to have done this. South Korea's maintained this is the first time this has ever happened. I don't think it's necessarily an increase in tensions between South Korea and Russia or China. I actually believe South Korea is kind of in China's orbit to begin with, to be frank about it.
General, always a pleasure to see you. Thank you so much for being here and really breaking down the world for us. General Jack Keane.